Hey there! Welcome to Above the Noise with the Profitability Pathmaker. I'm Christy Wilson, your host, friend, and guide on this exciting journey we're about to embark on together. If you've got big dreams of scaling your business, innovating like a pro, and creating a personal brand that sticks, well, you're in exactly the right place. As someone who's navigated the highs and lows of business growth, I'm here to share not just my insights, but also wisdom from the forefront of entrepreneurship and innovation. From the essentials of starting small to the complexities of venture capital, tech advancements, and the art of personal branding, we're diving deep into what it really takes to stand out and succeed in today's fast-paced world. This podcast is for the bold and the ambitious, from startup founders to C-level executives looking to elevate their business. So join us as we explore actionable strategies, practical tips, and real-world success stories designed to inspire and empower you. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and let's cut through the noise together. It's time to make your business not just seen, but truly memorable. Are you ready to dive in? Let's go! Hello and welcome back to Above the Noise with Christy Wilson today. I'm your host and Josh is traveling for one of our business ventures, so it will be just you and me for today. I know, he'll be back next week, don't worry. And normally I would bring on another guest, but I had a question that came up at least 5 times in the last month with several clients we've been onboarding, right, at one of our organizations. And so I thought this is something important that we should cover. And so today we're going to talk about setting the right price, right? How to price your offer or your services or your products that attracts clients and ultimately leads to sales, right? Because that's what matters, is leading to sales. So let's talk a little bit about the pricing formula, because what's happened is, I'm actually, let's go to story time. So just a couple months ago, I was at this fantastic conference. It was a workshop, loved it. I love attending things like that because I'm able to learn so much, and I'm able to learn from all of these different experiences, different backgrounds, the diversity in the people that come in to speak or train. And also I'm able to really gain additional perspectives. And sometimes that helps me to shift the way I look at something or shift my trajectory or my game plan a little bit within the businesses. Okay, so I'm here. Fantastic speakers, great event, love the people. But one thing that stuck out to me as a theme was everybody getting up here and without looking at the business, without looking at what the solution you're offering is, without any understanding around what your offer is, the generic advice was you need to raise your prices. You need to just go in and set your price at what your worth is, your value. I disagree. So I know, a little bit controversial, and I'm sorry, but not sorry, because again, it shouldn't be about you. It should be about the solution, the outcome, the transformation that you're providing to that customer, to that person, right? So the focus is the other person and what they're getting. So the price should actually be aligned with your ideal client for that particular product or service, right? It should not be anything that reflects your self-worth or your value. You are valuable. You have a super high self-worth. You should, right? And you are valuable as a person. And I don't think anybody here is selling people. I hope not. So we are not selling your self-worth, right? We're selling an end outcome, a result, a transformation. And so the value should align, the price should align with the value that that person is receiving, right? That tangible outcome, what is it worth? So I disagree with that. I had a lot of experience even with some other coaches recently, wherein I hear them telling their clients, well, this is the minimum threshold we work with to scale your business, and so we're just going to set your price at $9,000 for an 8-week course, and it gets you a handful of group coaching sessions and really just a self-paced course. It might be worth $9,000. What's the end result? What are they walking away with? In that 8 weeks, did you show them how to sustainably build their business and their offer, and it's going to yield them a lifetime return on this, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and you only charge $9,000 for those 8 weeks, then it's absolutely worth the value. But in many coaching courses and trainings and things that I see out there today, I'm not knocking them. Some of them are fantastic, but some of them, I think people are just in this mode of everybody's a coach, everybody's a business strategist, everybody is an entrepreneur, and they can be, but they don't all have that experience. And so coming in and saying, well, because I'm worth it, $9,000 is my price, pay it. That sounds silly. I mean, it just sounds silly. If the return's not there, it's not worth $9,000. Okay, so if the return's there, then yes, it might be worth the $9,000. So couple of things when we talk about how to grow revenue without dropping your prices, right? So that was the big theme here, is that you should just be pricing it based on your value, not the value that the customer or client is getting out of the service, which again, I disagree with. I would recommend that you use a simple formula, some foundational pieces, key elements when you're creating your pricing structure and building your offer or your products or your services out, okay? So there is a way to not have to drop your price. It just means you increase the value. Right? So if you say, because somebody was saying, well, just work backward. What do you need to make income wise? What do you want to make per month? How many clients do you think are attainable, or how many purchases do you think are attainable? And then just back into your price that way. So that is a good method when you're planning your business out as part of the business blueprint and the plan and that roadmap. That's fantastic advice, but it's not how you price your products or services. That's your goal that you're setting. That's your revenue target, and you are working that into your blueprint. So now you can back into a price by ensuring that the value, the return on the investment is going to be worthwhile at that price. And if it's not, well, then maybe you need to add more value. So you either need more volume or more value. So that's the important piece. So the first mistake I see, I am not kidding, when I ask people, so what are we charging for this? I was thinking, well, I saw some things out there, what do you think about $2,000? Well, what do I think about $2,000? What's your cost? What's the return on investment that your clients are getting? What's the tangible outcome, and what's that worth? What do you mean, what do I think, $2,000? It's like we're pulling numbers out of the air. I'm not kidding. This is what people are being taught at some of these workshops in these courses, and they're being told that their self-worth is attached to their pricing, which is ridiculous. So first thing you want to do when you're pricing a product or a service, you want to make sure that you're calculating your costs, right? What's that mean? What's your direct cost? That includes your materials, whatever you might need. If it's a service-based, it could be your labor. It could be your production cost and the time that went into that, the costs around producing a course and the video editing and the storage and the platforms you're using. It might be your time, right? And the resources for that service. Don't forget your operational expenses. If you have a rent, lease, if you're not an online business, utilities, even if you are an online business, sales and marketing, please don't leave that out of the budget, because without your marketing pulling in like a magnet, right? Pulling your ideal clients in, it should act as the magnet, and your sales efforts, there's not going to be any revenue coming in to grow or support the business, right? No income. And then look at that cost and determine what is the desired profit margin. Okay, determine the ideal profit margin to ensure you're not just breaking even or that it's worth your time. There was a time a few years back, and my husband pointed out, Josh isn't here otherwise, and it's a good thing too, because he'd be like, yeah, taking the credit, I'm right. He'd be recording when we're recording, so he'd be keeping this recording. But he was right. I said, oh, don't worry, we're not losing money, and I covered all these costs. And he said, right, but what is the profit margin? What are you actually making? And what's the time invested, your time that you're not calculating in? And when we looked, the profit margin was so slim. And he's like, is that really worth $300 for the effort going in? Because that's all you're making. If not, then again, increase your value, adjust your products or services, and then offer that out at a different price that reflects the return on investment for the person purchasing. First thing, calculate your costs, right? Understand your numbers. You don't have to be a financial pro, but you do have to have an understanding of your numbers to be able to price your service or products. Okay. Number 2, you do want to research your competitors' pricing. Oh, but Christy, you tell us, base it on the return on investment on the outcome, and I shouldn't compare to other people. And you're right, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, and you should only compare your services if it's the same thing. However, you can get a baseline, right? You want a baseline to understand what are they going to be advertising out there to everybody looking at it, because unless you can put your differentiator out there where they understand the immense amount of value that supersedes what they can get for a lower cost, it's going to make it difficult to close deals and to be able to demonstrate why it's worth going this route and not the less expensive route. I'm not advocating for you to lower your prices, but I am advocating for you to do research and understand what people are advertising so you know what additional value to add or what to show as your differentiator. Why are you $2,000 more? It might be fine. The value might be there, but why, right? So you want to make sure that you do that benchmarking exercise, if you will, and also understand fully your market dominating position, your unique selling proposition. What makes your product, service, solution different, unique, different than everybody else out there? Why you? And if you don't know that, that's a whole nother episode and another piece of things, but that's important. The third thing is know and understand your ideal customer's perceived value of that outcome. Okay, so what does that mean? Understand what your ideal customer is looking for. Understand what they need, understand what they value that end outcome or that end result at, right? And sometimes it's very easy. You can use numbers. Like in my business, many times I can use numbers, and that's what I'll do is here's the ROI, right? But other times, if you're saying, well, Christy, mine's not really numbers based. They're not going to get a certain amount back. Maybe they're going to lose 25 pounds over the next 6 months or whatever the program is. Well, there's a value associated with that, right? And what else are they getting? Are they getting that additional support? Are they getting a guarantee around this? What are they getting? And then what makes you different? Why you and not another weight loss coach, right? So there's always some type of tangible outcome. In that case, it's the weight loss, and then we value from there. So know your ideal customer's perceived value of what you're achieving for them, of the transformation, the results, the outcome, whatever it might be. All right. So next thing that you want to understand is what is the actual value, right? What is the actual value for what they're getting? For example, the way I price my services or the way I present it when we're going through and I'm working with a business, right? So I'm going to use one as an example, a recent one. I was working with a medical practice focused in aesthetics. Okay, so they were struggling and really wanted to be able to increase income, and they thought the only way to do that was to bring in more patients. That might be a good method. But the first thing I did was I came in at that first session and we spent about 45 minutes really talking through the numbers, talking through the processes, seeing what they had there. And I was very easily able to say in the strategy session, okay, well, right here, I mean, we printed it out on paper. By adjusting this thing each month, this is $90,000 back in your pocket. No additional ad spend, no advertising, no additional marketing, no additional patients. But by making this operational and labor reallocation move, this little blueprint, if you follow this, it's going to save you $90,000 a month on average. So right there, I was able to print out, and I do print out, and I show, okay, so your investment for me working with you over the next 90 days is going to be $5,000. It's $5,000. And that was me putting together strategies and holding their hand and walking through those strategies. And then we ended up adding on some other services for sales and marketing and lead generation. But for this piece, $5,000, right? And you're thinking, oh my gosh, Christy, $5,000, they're going to walk away. Well, of course they're going to walk away unless you can then show them exactly what they're getting for $5,000. Is it worth the investment? In this case, yes. So I'm going to get you about $180,000 over that 90-day period. So you just present it that way, right? Does it make sense? If I said, I'll give you $180,000 in 90 days if you give me $5,000 over those 90 days. You're gonna be like, yeah, of course, here's my $5,000, let's go, right? Because it's a no-brainer offer, it's silly. The return on investment is right there, they can see it. Yeah, I'm gonna pay you. I mean, they were like, of course, yeah, I'll give you $5,000 today if you're gonna tell me you're gonna get me $180,000 in those 90 days. And then on top of it all, that was just one thing. We're gonna also dig into some other strategies and we're going to pair it with some other services, which again, I showed here's cost versus value. This is what you're paying and this is what you get for that, right? And so you make it a no-brainer like that. I have another program. We work with e-commerce brands, right? So I'll use another example. We work with e-commerce brands and we know that the profit margin is different there, right? So I have to understand my customer and I have to understand what they're looking for and their perceived value in something. So for example, e-commerce brands, we have a program wherein they will allow us to create and launch their Google and YouTube ads. We go through and work, especially with Google, right? That's our specialty. We go through and do that in this program because that's very effective for these brands. And they do not pay us any type of monthly retainer or upfront setup fees. They invest the ad spend directly with Google, right? And we do have a minimum. Okay, you have to be at a level where you can invest $5,000 a month to make this effective in this particular arena. But they invest that up to that much per month. They put their card in and it'll go as it goes. But we only bill them 8% of the revenue that we generate from those ads. So we have skin in the game. We don't get paid a cent until they start bringing in money. And it's never happened. But if for some reason they paid $4,000 or $5,000 out and only got $3,000 or $4,000, we wouldn't charge them anything on that, right? We only make money when they're making money. Is there a risk? Sure, but it's very minimal. Most of these brands are already running Google ads and they're not getting the return on ad spend that they should. They're not putting the right systems in place that they could. And our average result, it's easy for me to show, our average result is to increase these brands by $35,000 to over $100,000 a month, depending on what they're selling in their ad spend. We have a client, we increased them by about $50,000 a month. Just in the first 3 months, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. So what is that? 150,000. And we take 8% of that. And then, of course, their ad spend each month, which was $5,000. But still, if you calculate it out, it was still well worth it return-wise. And I'm able to show that on paper. So the point of these examples, same with coaching. We have other programs that maybe they start at $3,500, right? And you're saying, oh, well, they just said to value my program at $8,000 because that's what people out there are charging for this program. Well, again, I don't believe that. I like to say, look, I can show you right here. This is the outcome. I'm going to map it out for you in our free strategy session. And I'm going to show you that if you pay me $3,500 over these 90 days, I'm going to get you $35,000 in those 90 days. And I'm going to show you how right here. So if you present it that way, again, it's a no-brainer. You want to price based on the ROI, the tangible result that they get. And you want to present it in a way that it makes sense. It's, a no-brainer. It's if I said, give me $1,000 today and I'll give you $10,000 in 60 days, I would bet 99.9% of you are like, yeah, cool, let's go. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take it at that point, right? You are removing any of the doubt. You're removing any reason to not move forward and onboard, which I think is why our conversion rates are so high. In our businesses, we have a 75 to 80% closing rate, conversion rate, because in that strategy session, we show that. Right? And some services you're going to say, well, I can't show the numbers like that, but you can show the outcome by results. You can say, this is what you're going to achieve to 25 pounds. What's that worth? To be able to fit into that dress you wanted to wear for that holiday party. We've got 90 days. You're getting into that dress. Those 15 pounds or whatever it is to get into the dress, that's what you're paying for. So maybe you are paying $3,000 for that because it was worth it. Right? So you just want to make sure that you're presenting that no-brainer offer, showing the value that they're getting for their investment and showing that it's absolutely worth it. Why wouldn't you? Right? You want to make them question, what's the catch? Why? Why not? I do encourage people, for the most part, to stop relying on discounts to sell. The problem with that is, again, depending on who you're targeting. Now, sometimes discounts are appropriate, but for the most part, when you discount the brand, the perceived value goes down and you're going to have even more difficulty selling. But a lot of times I come into a business and unfortunately, the method they use was trying to discount the services so much. And in reality, I come in, we increase prices by 1%, add additional value in, and they're now making more money than they were when they were discounting their prices, right? So you can do that and it can be volume based, but that is a very unique situation. And I would recommend that only in very specific areas, right? So for the most part, you shouldn't be discounting. So again, you want to make sure that you're showing the no-brainer return on investment. What do they get? Is it worth it? I show right on paper. Give me $3,500. I'll give you this $35,000, right? And we map it out specifically. Remember, we talked about in a previous episode, those discovery calls. That's why that map out process is so important. That's why it's so important to not just talk to the value, because words mean nothing. It's like my e-com market again, right? One of our offers, the e-com market or e-com brands. People say them all the time now. Oh, I'll coach you to this. Oh, I coached all these people to this. High five, fist bump, man, I hope you did. I'm glad for you. But as a client or a potential customer, I'm thinking there's doubt in my mind, but that's probably not going to work for me. But if someone can map out the process and show me that tangible outcome I'm going to get for the investment, well, now it becomes a super easy let's go, right? Super easy acceptance. So Make sure that your client or customer knows what they walk away with. Product, service, I don't care what it is. What are they walking away with? That's why that map out process is so important. They should have a very clear understanding of exactly what they're going to achieve, right? And it should be a customized plan, or if it's just maybe you sell a SaaS service. I have a client who sells a specific software. But again, when we're doing the messaging around that and when we're coaching on those discovery calls, we are really focused around what is the customer walking away with at the end and what is the value of that versus their investment, right? Again, you have to make it really easy for them, a no-brainer. And it really has to have the value. If you don't have the value, then don't just price yourself high because somebody said increase your prices. Well, you're worth more, increase your prices. That's silly. I mean, it's not silly. You are worth more, but your product's probably not worth more. So you need to think about it by putting yourself in the customer's shoes, right? If you were in the customer's shoes and someone said, but I'm worth it, you're thinking, what does that have to do with me and the outcome I'm achieving here, right? What does that have to do with my results? Is the result worth what I'm putting in? And it's your job in that discovery call process, in that sales process, it is your job to offer an opportunity that just is a no-brainer because they're getting so much value for what they're investing. And so if you don't have the value there, I mean, I would honestly assess your product or service. And if the value's not there, if you can't present that to someone like I can, like I gave those examples, if I can't show the return on investment and why it's a no-brainer to walk away and with it in hand and onboard it and let's go, here's my credit card, can we start yesterday? If that's not the case, then you need to backpedal and go and really dig down into your solutions, your offer, your services, and reassess ways that you can add value and then double and triple it again, because you want to make sure that you're ethical. You want to make sure that you stand out. There are so many people that come in. I can't tell you how many horror stories I hear from our clients we sign on, and they're like, oh, you know, they're really leery because of how many times they've been burned in the past. And I understand, because me too. That's why I started the agency years ago. That's why I launched a sales division. That's why I got really focused on building a full strategy team to ensure that we weren't like that we could help others that were so frustrated like we were, getting burned over and over again, by just really inundating them with how much value they get out of it for their investment, where they're like, wow. And guess what? Our revolving door is not there. We don't have a turnover rate with our clients. We have lost, out of the thousands of clients, we've had one client leave us. That's not true. 2 clients. One client left us in the IT world for price, but a year and a half later, guess who was knocking at the door? And guess who's now a client of ours again, right? Because they got to a cheaper price and found that it wasn't the same value. They weren't getting that jam-packed value. They weren't getting the result they wanted just because they were paying less. Number 2, second client that left us was because they sold. They sold their set of 10 restaurants and they were retired. High five, fist bump, right? And actually, we took on some of those restaurants that other people acquired. We took on about half of them as new clients because they split them up and sold to multiple people. So we don't have high turnover. So if your customer lifetime value is there, then you want to make sure you are just inundating them with value and results so that they're never going to want to leave. They're going to want to keep handing over their credit card because they're getting the return on their investment. They're getting the results, and that perceived value is sky high. Okay, so that's another thing. Again, you want to align your pricing with your client's goals, with their desired outcome, with their vision, with their dream, okay? Think about who you want to work with. Who is your ideal client, right? And your pricing should reflect the level of commitment and results instead of just basing a price because someone said to raise it. because high five, go, we can. Because you can. Or people just picking it out of the air. I'm just going to settle on this. We didn't actually evaluate anything. But you would not believe how many times that happens, just being honest. The other thing is sometimes your customers or clients need some flexibility. I have a client right now we're onboarding who's been struggling since COVID, right? It's a medical practice. And sometimes to support the cash flow and those goals, you do need to be a little bit flexible, but it shouldn't compromise your cash flow either. So what we'll do is we can offer payment plans, and that makes our offerings, our solutions more accessible, but you also have to assess that and balance it with what makes sense financially so that you can support all of your customers and clients and provide them with phenomenal results, right? So make sure that your payment structure aligns with that and that lines up and you're able to do it. We are able to do it. I was able to break this up into a 6-month payment plan. So, we can do different things that make sense. So setting the right price to close out for today. Setting the right price is more than just picking a number out of the air. I don't care what, people out there, experts, gurus are out there telling you. It's not right. It's not the right way to do it. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not the right way to do it. Don't just put your high ticket price at $10,000 because I can. Is the value, is the result, the outcome, the transformation that person is getting worth an investment of $10,000? If you're charging them $10,000 to show them how to build a business that's going to make them $1 million over the next 3 years, then absolutely your $10,000 is worth it. But if you don't have results that speak to that, if you can't show them specifically that it's a no-brainer, that here's your investment and here's what you walk away with, then you need to reevaluate your pricing, but more so, you need to reevaluate your solution, your products, your services, reevaluate them and look at ways you can make them more valuable to lead to a phenomenal outcome and results for that person, right? Sales, I'm going to say it again, sales is about offering an opportunity. It's all about the other person, right? And what you're doing for them. It should be easy. It should be stress-free. It shouldn't be convincing. It shouldn't be pulling teeth. It shouldn't be deceiving. It shouldn't be, trying to trick somebody into something. It shouldn't be any of those things. I don't want to convince anyone. Here's the numbers. They speak for themselves. Here's the results versus your investment. It speaks for itself. It's a no-brainer. And then it makes it really, really easy, and you're going to see those really high conversion rates. You're going to see that you're onboarding 60, 70, 80% of the people you speak to. Okay, so it's about understanding the value based on the investment, right? Being able to show it's a no-brainer, and confidently communicating that, presenting that to the people. Show it clear as day, okay? And when your pricing reflects your true results, those real results they're getting, you're going to attract the right clients to you. You're going to attract clients that see your worth, not your worth, but your product, your services worth, the solution worth, the results worth, and are ready to invest in their growth. Again, yep. It might be $5,000 up front. It might be $3,000 up front. It might be $1,000 up front. It might be what it is. But you're telling me this is what I get out of this. I put in $3,500 and I get out $35,000 in 90 days. That's, again, it's a no-brainer. So remember that when you're pricing your strategy, or when you're working on your pricing strategy, don't just listen to people out there telling you this stuff. I have been doing this for almost 30 years now, and I can tell you that when the value's there and you can show the return on investment, there's no convincing. You don't need to get somebody in for $10,000 and they're gone in 3 months because they feel like they blew that money and they got burned. Don't be part of that problem. Don't be part of that. Be part of the solution. Be different. Be unique. And just because someone's an expert does not make the information they give you right. All right, and on that note, we're closing out for today. You will be excited to see Josh back here probably next week, but I felt this was important since we had so many questions come in around it. So I hope it was helpful. I hope you saw value in it, especially for just the investment of your time for listening. And I am so excited for you, and I look forward to seeing what big things you accomplish this week. Until next time. And that wraps up another empowering episode of Above the Noise with the Profitability Pathmaker. I'm Christy Wilson, and it's been an absolute pleasure to share this time with you. I hope today's journey has armed you with valuable insights and strategies to propel your business and personal brand to the next level. Remember, every setback is just a setup for a comeback. So keep pushing, keep dreaming, and never be afraid to be a little loud about your goals. We've got a whole world to impress, and I can't wait to see where your journey takes you next. Until next time, keep making waves and rising above the noise. Cheers to your success, and I'll see you on the next episode.